good evening and welcome to CAN TV, Access TV.
Hey, this is Malika. This is Chicago Hill. We got a little bit of a late start, but
Oh, yeah, I mean, better late than never.
better late than never.
And
Better late than never.
I'm grateful to Access TV. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
We have a show that's dedicated to a young boy.
Yes, an angel.
Yeah.
4-year-old MJ.
And you know what? The only people that could really tell the story is the parents. And that's MJ right there.
Yes, he is an angel.
So I mean, Mom and Dad, are you there?
Yes, we're here.
Good afternoon, guys. We're here.
Good afternoon. We would like to give you an opportunity to speak to the people without us giving you any script or line. Tell the story how you want. I mean,
I've had the opportunity of speaking with Angela Gregg, the mom, and this woman's soul is like on fire in the community to find the shooters of her son. And my heart goes out to both of you. Mr. Moultry, I know you were with your son at the time that this horrible incident happened. And I was just talking to my mom last night, like I can't even imagine what you're feeling. But we just want you to know, Chicago Hill, before we even get started, our hearts and prayers are with you, and you have our full support. And of course, Rep. Ford is working with you all for the legislation to make sure that this doesn't continue in Chicago. It has to stop. It has to stop. So please, Angela, Mr. Moultry, please let everyone know what happened to this beautiful angel of yours.
Thank you so much, Malika, for that beautiful introduction. And I think it is important that people know what happened to our son and kind of where we are. I have, been out there talking about MJ as much as I possibly can to pretty much anybody who will listen. But, oftentimes they do ask about MJ's father and, how he's feeling and what he's going through and, just pretty much what happened on the inside of the home. So I wanted to, give him an opportunity to speak as well and go over his feelings and just kind of give people insight on what happened there that night.
Yes.
What about you, Dad? We got to stick together, the men. I mean, so far the women been taking over this conversation. Let's get them, Dad.
Thank you for having me today. But yes, Angela's been doing a wonderful, magnificent job handling this situation that we've been going through. Correction, I was there with my son. So here's everything, the full actual concrete story, because there's been a lot of misconception and misleading up to what the public has been releasing. So my son they had just arrived to Chicago that Thursday before the shooting for us to have a family Labor Day weekend. Angela was there previously getting her hair done. This is a college friend of mine that I brought my family around to help support her during this pandemic time. So, it's a family day, getting their hair done before we start our family adventure for the Labor Day weekend. In the process, around 9:45, I looked out the window and didn't see anything, and then within probably 5 to 6 minutes later, glass just shattered coming through at us. And the setup of the establishment, we was in front in her beautician work area, and my son was directly in front of me finishing up his hair. So probably maybe 15, 20 minutes top, we would have been done and out of there. And as bullets start coming through the glass, I honestly just realized, as soon as it happened, he was struck. And when it happened, I grabbed him. The beautician dropped to the ground. I did see blood. I thought she was hit. I grabbed my son, and we got to the ground, and the shots were still rapidly coming through. Once I called his name and he didn't respond, and I seen blood on my shirt, that's when I picked him up and took him over to a secure area, because I didn't know who the shooters were or what their intentions were, because I didn't know if they was going to run in the house or not. So I basically took him away from the window. I didn't know if they was going to run up and, put their hand through the window and just start shooting on the ground. So
Oh my God.
I basically got him to a safe area and just tried to keep him with me as I'm holding and putting pressure on his head once I realized where the blood was coming, and was able to try to call 911 to give them the whereabouts and location where we were. And I'm just heartbroken that it was him and not me. And it's so crazy because I'm right there with him, in front of him, and I hate that whatever spirit or whatever shield I had on me that wasn't able to touch him and protect him. And if I could, I would sit there and swap places with him, because it's very hard I'm reliving that every day.
That's what we want the public to know. The pain that has been caused by this senseless act, the pain that you're feeling, the pain that mom's feeling, the pain that the entire family's feeling, and I'm sure the pain that we're feeling right here is all because of some foolish act that could have been avoided. I think that there are some things that you want to call out for, right?
Correct. I do want to call out that supposedly whoever the actual target was, they have not been interviewed or talked to. And that's a problem for both of us, because they're saying that they know who the target is, but when I ask how they followed up and talked to them, the case is no. And then, no, there's nobody, like, the case is still open, but there's no leads, and there's nobody in custody. And it's been 53 days? 63 days since the murder of our son.
Are the detectives talking to you all? Are they helping you in the
They are
community?
talking with us, and they are working with us. They are. It's just no one wants to step up and talk to them to help for them to solve the case.
I know that they set up a reward for to catch. What can you tell us about that?
So we had an award. We had an award for $15,000, and then this last canvassing that we had with the mayor, she made it her obligation to add to that to make it $25,000. So the reward amount is $25,000 now for any information leading to the arrest of our son's murderers.
I have a question. So was the target actually in there, in the shop?
No,
Okay.
they just they lived in the building, but they was not in the actual apartment that we was at.
So what are you all doing now to make sure that MJ's life is not in vain? Besides trying to capture the killer.
Every weekend, we do awareness canvas walk where we're handing out flyers in that area, in that community, putting up front yard signs, doing interviews, just basically mainly getting the awareness out to see if anybody that knows our story that can come forth, that's willing to come forth and just give out any type of information, and letting them know that there's a reward and that there is an anonymous number to call if they want to be anonymous, to give out information to help the police get the suspects.
You know what, Malika, coming up in one of our episodes, families and communities, that's what it's all about, making sure we have healthy communities, healthy Chicago. And that's what the foundation is all about, F.D.R. Community Foundation. But let me say, we are going to do a show on co-parenting. You know, this is a perfect example of two parents that co-parent well. You know, that I think that it says a lot about the fact that, I mean, you two co-parent, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I'm a co-parent as well. So, but we know we're going to be talking about how difficult it is to co-parent. So we want to just give you guys a lot of praise and credit for being great co-parenters for MJ and continuing to co-parent the legacy.
I'm so wanting them to find these shooters. That's like where my focus is. I can't get off of the details because we didn't hear these details. We haven't heard this story, this part, as many details about what happened. I know that there's a surveillance video, and we have a clip of that. Was anyone able to see these men, their faces, or what? Did it just happen way too fast?
So from the video clip that we have all seen, it is very grainy, to try to identify anybody. The issue that the police and ourselves are running into is because the video footage is coming from a home surveillance camera. We are very grateful for the surveillance. However, because they're not as high definition as the city cameras, the more you zoom in and the more you try to focus in on any type of details, the more distorted the image becomes. However, from that footage, we were able to notice that there is someone else outside that seems to be carrying their groceries inside that saw what happened. And then at the final part of that clip, it does show that this eyewitness was still outside when the car was making the right turn. So we would just plead to that person, for help. I know that it's been 2 months, and I know that it's been quite some time, and I get it. There is maybe some type of fear of coming forward with information, but on there we were able to see that there was someone standing outside that could possibly give us more information on the case. And again, my frustration is definitely not with that person. It's not with the police department. It's not with any politicians. My frustration and my anger is towards the people who murdered our son. But I just do ask, just from that footage, that's what I was able to make out. So I would just ask that person to come forward and say something. Even if not to the police, they can definitely reach out to me and his father directly. We're out there in that neighborhood every single weekend talking to people, and we just ask that they come forward and help us out.
And the people living in that building, I'm sure they know who they were possibly after, anyone in that building, if they would come forward.
Yeah, I think, the moral of the story is if this happened to your family, someone, and you knew something, there's a way that you can give tips without people knowing it's you. The reward may not be as important, but finding justice for MJ would help heal the family, start the healing of the family and their community. So tips.
I'm a believer. I know, there's this thing about snitching, but when it comes to babies, like, you have to come forward. You have to, because little MJ had no issues with anybody. He's 4 years old. He's just happy to be with his dad, and this happened. So the whole snitching thing, just, you all need to come forward because there's too many children dying right now in Chicago.
I feel the same way, Malika. I feel like, yes, there should not be any protections in place for people who murder children. I know that there is this unspoken code, but that code should not go in the case of people who decide to come up a block, pull out guns, and the only person that was shot, the only person that was murdered that day was my 4-year-old son, and he was the most innocent and the most vulnerable in that situation, and he was taken from us. And there's not a day that go by that I don't think about my son, that I wish he was here, that I hear his smile and hear his laugh, and just to hear his voice. Like, it's painful. It's painful what we're going through. So I just hope that, I know that, money doesn't really convince people to do the right thing, but hopefully just have a heart and have some type of sympathy and some type of moral compass that you would come forward and, answer for what you've done and for what you've taken from us.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have a couple of levels, you have a few levels of what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing legislation. Work. What else?
So we are definitely working on the legislation, the MJ Act, which will, in essence, protect children of a tender age from 10 and under. So we definitely want to put some laws in place that if people decide that they want to come to the state of Illinois and they want to shoot a child, whether you intended to or not, there will be harsher punishments in place. There will be stricter sentencing for those criminals. And then we're also working on what we call the MJ unit. The MJ unit will be housed in the police departments, and these units will be deployed to these type of violences against children, specifically gun violence. And then the other part is that we are starting a foundation in MJ's name. It's called the Martyr for Justice Project, and in short, it's the MJ Project. And this organization will assist families that are going through what me and MJ's father is going through. We want to provide different resources. We want to provide political connections. We want to provide social media training, just the strengthening abilities that they need in order to fight for their son or their daughter in the effort to get justice. So there's several things we're working on in MJ's name.
Well, I can't even imagine what you all are feeling right now. I mean, we've all lost family members, but to lose a baby is a whole nother level. And I respect that you all are taking your pain and turning it into action to protect other children and to bring some justice. So in the Black community, we rarely get justice.
Yeah.
Rare. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
We rarely get justice.
You know, that's because we need help participating in solving these cases. What's the hotline number for if they want to report a tip? Do you have that number that you can share?
Yeah, so the number is 1-800-535-STOP. STOP. 1-800-535-STOP is the number that you can call. And again, guys, I just want to stress the importance that it is anonymous. It is absolutely anonymous. No one we have tested this theory just to prove that it is anonymous, and it is. It's absolutely anonymous. No one will know where the call came from. It cannot be tracked. So when they say that, they mean that.
I'm curious as to why they haven't interviewed the person that was the target.
Oh, well, they know who the target is, right?
They know who the target is.
I wonder why they don't interview the guy that was carrying the groceries in the house. Maybe they are. It's my hope that they are.
We have asked the police ourselves. We want to know because Superintendent David Brown did state in the press conference that they know who the intended targets are. They know who the games are. And now we know that there was somebody outside, when all of this happened. So we have asked those questions to the detectives. And the responses that we have received is that the intended targets, they have moved.
Yeah.
And that's just not enough for us. And then as far as the eyewitness, they're not cooperating. So it's a brick wall, and it's very frustrating, that these intended targets, they don't want to cooperate. The eyewitness, they don't want to cooperate. It's frustrating.
So, what we have up is the picture of MJ at the airport. Tell us about that day.
That day was a beautiful day. I remember that day, and I hold on to that day so much because we picked MJ up from school. He had all of his supplies for the weekend, and we got dropped off at the airport, and he was so excited to come to Chicago. We were going through the TSA, and he had to show her his ticket, and she was like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Mychal Moultry Jr." He was so proud to say his name to the TSA agent, and then the plane was slightly delayed, and he was just like, "Happy, what's taking the plane so long? I'm ready to get to Chicago already." On the plane, he just played with his cards and his iPad. He's always so good, when we travel back and forth from Chicago or anywhere really. But he was so excited to see his father, to hang out, and just to be, because he's a boy's boy. He just liked hanging out with the guys, hanging out with his uncles and his dad, and just being wherever they were. So he was excited to come up here to Chicago that day and see his dad. So, and I definitely hold on to those memories for sure.
So we talked about dad, we talked about mom, any brothers, sisters, grandpas that's hurting. I mean, these people need to know that they've hurt lots of people.
A lot of people.
Did MJ have two grandmas, two grandpas? What's...
He had a Nene and a Gigi, both his grandparents. They're both devastated. They're both suffering. It's just hard to process that he's not here anymon
That was your mom's only grandchild.
And that was my mother's only grandchild as well.
The pain that people are causing on families. I mean, there is no one on this earth that would not that wouldn't want that to happen to them. No
Right.
one wants to see their loved one get killed. I mean,
No.
we have to stop and think before we, take another life. And this is just something. What other? Go ahead, Malika.
Well, I was going
That's
to
the
ask.
thing. They're not even thinking. Like, I'm sorry, Malik. I didn't mean to cut
Oh,
you off.
oh no, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
That's the thing. So this new generation that we are, that's out here, they're a nuisance. Like they're not thinking. They don't have any respect for their life, so they're not gonna have respect for the next life or a child's life.
Yes.
And it's very saddening that this is the society that we are living in, and it's just like I'm born and raised from Chicago, and I'm very mad at my city, and I'm just disoriented that I brought them up here to have to suffer, have him be a sacrifice that we both dramatically just hate. Like that was our baby,
Yeah.
and
I hear you. I hear you. You're mad at your city. Like they call us this world-class city, but I'm with you. I am mad at Chicago.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah,
mad.
leaving kids unprotected, and the state of Illinois must be tougher on these acts of violence that
Yes.
kill people. Could you tell the viewers what you guys do for a living, and if you're able to work now as a matter of the loss of your son? Because
so I am an engineer tech. I have my mechanical engineering degree. I'm just trying to provide for my family and help stay focused and get justice.
so you have an engineering degree.
Hmm.
Congratulations. And so we knew that the enemy took a genius there in MJ. So
He was going to be probably an engineer himself. He was very
Oh,
good with numbers,
that's good.
very highly educated for his age.
oh,
MJ was supposed to take a test on when he went back to school to skip from pre-K to kindergarten.
oh
Wow.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
I hope people hear what we lost, and people should know that life is valuable. What about you, Mom? Are you working every day? Are you able to work with the?
So unfortunately for me, no, I was working in hospital billing down in Alabama, but since the passing of MJ, I have been in Chicago almost every single day fighting for justice, fighting for change. So I don't work for a company, I work for my son. So that's what I do now for a living is I just do my absolute best to be as active and as involved as I can in his case. So currently I do not have income, but I am supported by my friends and by my family. And that's pretty much how I'm getting by God's grace. But I am grateful. I am definitely grateful for the people who assist me in my finances and just, put me in places that I am able just to get up every day and go to work for my son.
Well, I think with this legislation, the MJ bill, I truly believe his legacy is going to go on to protect so many other children. So his spirit is
I do
just
agree with you
beyond.
there. I definitely agree with you, Malika. The legislation, it is very important to me. I definitely want to get this bill passed in MJ's name. I just feel like it's one way that we can immortalize my son. He only got to be on earth with us for 4 years, but at least with this law, he'll go down, in history, he'll go down in law, and it'll be named after him. But the biggest thing is that his life will be protecting other children, and
Yes.
so that their families don't have to go through what his mother and father are going through, and that hopefully it does put some type of dent in what's going on in the city of Chicago when it comes to children, because I'm realizing now that we are a victim of this, that so many other families have lost their children to gun violence. It's insane the amount of parents that we meet at these different events and that reach out to us and that we hear about on the news. I just feel like at some point it's going to be a generation lost in our people. It's just going to be a whole generation that's not going to be accounted for because so many children, not just in Chicago but across this nation, are being taken away to senseless acts of violence. And with the law in place, it just gives us another way to memorialize MJ. So I definitely hope that we can continue pushing forward on that and it gets the support that it needs, because at the end of the day, MJ wasn't Democrat or Republican. He was a 4-year-old that was shot and murdered, and I definitely want to use his life to make changes.
Well, we are with you 100% in helping his legacy to live on for generations to come. And this is Chicago Heal. I want to know what you and Dad are doing to help yourself, self-care, to get through this emotionally. That is so important, is your mental and emotional health. What are you all doing to get through this?
Staying strong and just finding the will every day to get up and keep him in our prayers, keep him around in our mindset. It's very sensitive topic to say, but I mean, every day we get up to do what we have to do in his memorial memory, because I mean, it's hard. We can't just sit around and do nothing. Like, we both agree, MJ will not be another statistic for the city.
Amen. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's powerful because, this is a life. MJ was a life. He's not just a number. And the people that that did this to MJ, they need to recognize that they took a life and that they've caused pain for so many people. And so I think that your appeal to the people is what we need to hear, because we cannot accept this as normal. And that's why we wanted to make sure that that you all were here today, so that we never forget and we continue to say MJ's name until our last day. His name should always be etched into Illinois and into the world's history. And that's what we're going to help you do.
Thank you so much, Rev Ford. I do appreciate that, because they do need to know. They took a life. They took a 4-year-old away from us. And in the way that they took him away from us, people don't, I know it's just, gun violence it's just a term that we have all become accustomed to. But to think about the way that my son was murdered, it was 2 bullets in his brain. They shattered his skull in his brain. I just, to see him like that for 48 hours, just to watch my son disintegrate and to die in that manner, 2 bullets in his brain, and he was actually still breathing on his way to the hospital. I don't know adults who could take 2 bullets to their brain and still be alive. That's how strong MJ was. That's how strong his brain was. He was still able to be alive and breathing, and he fought until he couldn't fight anymore. But that's what they took from us. And so to have that image of him at the airport, and then to have the last images of him with his brain coming out, it's gruesome. He died a very gruesome and awful death, and they need to know that too. That yes, you definitely took his life, but in the manner that you took him from us, it was awful. It was absolutely horrible, and I'll never forget that day. So they need to know that too. That's an important fact that people just kind of glaze over under the stamp of a child lost to gun violence. Again, MJ will not be a statistic. They need to know exactly what they did and who they took away from us, which is why every single day we get up and we go to fight for our son.
Yeah, if people don't join your fight, and they don't see MJ as their own, it can happen to any of us. We have to put an end to this. We have to do everything we can to have stronger communities and healthier communities. And that's why we want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to continue to say his name. There was another 3-year-old baby killed in Harvey, I believe.
Last night we seen that.
Yes, we did see that. Almost identical to MJ, a 3-year-old, 2 shots into the home, a mother holding her child in blood and passed away. It's constant. It's too many. That's 3 years old.
And nobody's in custody. No lead. Nobody's arrested. That's unexplainable.
And it's pretty much, you guys would say that people just don't want to talk. If people would talk, this could be captured. And what we know, everyone with any common sense knows that if you have someone out there that killed a baby, that we're all in jeopardy. We need to get that person off the street. And so if you know something, figure out a way. The hotline again, Angela, number is what?
It's 1-800-535-STOP. And again, it just seems as if it's open season on the children. It's lawless because you can't normalize that. You can't understand how it can happen. How you can just shoot into a house with no regard. I was speaking to one of the police officers, the commander, and he explained to me. He was like, "Well, Miss Gregg, when I pull these people in, the people that they are able to catch, and I let them know, like, hey, man, do you know when you shot into that house? Do you know when you shot into that home? There were children." And you struck a child, or you could have struck a child, and these people, they tell the commander, "Yeah, I know it was kids in there, but I don't care."
My God.
That's why your law is necessary.
They're lawless. Like they have no regard for human life, and definitely not for the children's lives of the city. So that's the type of battle that we have to get up every single day and fight against. That people that know that children can be targeted and children can be collateral damage, and they simply do not care. They don't care.
I would love for us to play that surveillance video. I know it's grainy, but if it might strike somebody to do something.
Melissa, go ahead.
All right.
Please,
we're going to play that video right now. So you talked about a few times that there should be certain people that should be purged.
Yeah.
People that,
I think some people are far beyond reform.
Okay, here we go.
In his case, there's been no leads, there's been, no arrest, there has been no justice for my son.
4-year-old Mychal was inside a home about 3 blocks from here on 65th and Ellis over the Labor Day weekend.
He was bonding with his father at a friend's house.
This surveillance video released this evening shows a vehicle pull up outside that home on September 3rd. Police say 3 men got out, opened fire on the building and fled. 2 bullets pierced the window of the room in which Mychal sat, getting his hair braided, and ultimately snuffed out his little life.
Yeah, that's how cute. I think that every time they see these pictures, they have nothing but smiles. Is that right? Does that give you guys some smiles to see the happy MJ?
It does. I definitely have to take, some type of solace in the fact that, he was a very happy child. In the 4 years that MJ was here, MJ lived a very great life. He lived a very full life. He was educated. He was very well traveled. He was loved by his family, his friends, his teachers. I feel like MJ was definitely an angel amongst us. He was an angel on this earth, and we were blessed with the opportunity to have him with us for 4 years. So I regret nothing about his life. He was an amazing kid. The kid never got in trouble. Like he was just like every time you met him and just interacted with him, he wasn't a bad child. He was very respectable. His vocabulary was amazing. He was, like his father said, good at math at 3 years old, already doing plus and minus. So he was a great kid. So I definitely, hold on to the good moments.
MJ could walk in the room and brighten up the whole room.
I could see that.
Yes. Just looking at his photo, I can see it. I was like, he came here as an angel. As I often tell Rep. Ford, I was like, it's some people that come here evil to the core. There's no reform. They have no remorse. And then you have those that come into the world who you can tell they're angels. They were meant to do something. And though he was, only given 4 years, I think his legacy is going to be powerful.
Yeah.
For
He has
generations
parents
to
that's
come.
making that happen.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so hopefully we
Just
can.
because we know how great he was going to be, he was destined to be. That's what motivates us to go so hard every day. That's our motivation. That's how we deal with the loss of our son, because MJ was gonna be, like we call him MJ the Great. He was gonna be great. He had greatness in his eyes. He had greatness in his soul and his blood.
Yeah, his uncle Cameron is the one who dubbed him that name when he was a baby. That's where that name came from. So we didn't just come up with that, after his passing. He's been called MJ the Great since his birth, and his uncle gave him that name. So it just goes to show, like, how from the very beginning we just knew MJ was going to do something and he was going to be great. We definitely couldn't have imagined that it would be in this way. But our son was great, and we're going to continue on his legacy and make sure that he lives up to his name.
Yeah, in Chicago Hill, we want to make sure that we let everyone know that if you need someone to talk to, mental health professionals are available to talk to for free. It's put on by the Illinois Department of Public Health. If you can just text TALK to 552 555-2020. Text TALK to 55-2020. I think that people in that community where this happened, if they're watching, if they hear this, if you know anybody that need some type of behavioral health support, there's help available. So text TALK to 55-2020. And I know Angela said that she prays every morning before, and so you got to pray just to make it today.
Yes, I want you to please reach out if you need any assistance. I know right now you're strong, you're on fire for him, but we know it's real. It's real, and we're not made of steel. So please, if you all need some mental, emotional health, we're here.
We have resources, yes. And if you guys could give us some closing remarks to make the push for the capturing of the killer, your mission, and how people could reach you.
Absolutely. So I definitely just want to, again, just appeal to the people, especially the ones that were in that video, especially the intended targets, help us get these people off the streets. As his mom, all I can do is just ask you help me bring this case to a close, help me get justice for my son. And again, thank you to all the people who have been standing with us since day one, sharing his story, getting us awareness and putting us in positions that we can still to this day even still can talk about him. But you can definitely reach out to us through our organization, the Martyr for Justice Project. We can be reached by phone directly at 312-626-6646, or you can send us an email at themartyrforjusticeproject@gmail.com. Now, we do have social media set up for MJ. On Facebook, you can add his Facebook page, and we are active on that page every single day, and it's Mychal space MJ. You can also find him on Instagram, Mychal Jr. _the_great, or you can find him on TikTok for Mychal Jr. the Great. So I'm sorry, for MJ the Great. I'm so sorry. TikTok is for MJ the Great. So we definitely have his social media platforms. We've seen that that's another easier way for people to share his story and bring awareness. But they're operated by us as parents. So just know if you reach out to those pages, you are reaching out to us directly.
Dad?
And I would like to say, I just have to say, I want every father to just imagine being in my shoes, to think about first of all, your junior, because I can never have another junior. And then just to being a father, a responsible father, because I would never want anybody to feel what me and Angela are going through in family.
That's what I said. You all are great parents. You co-parent well. Here's the other thing that I want to get your take on. The McDonald's CEO tweeted or texted the mayor of the city of Chicago that these kids that's been killed, it's their parents' fault.
Whoa.
Did you guys read that? That their parents need to do better?
Who tweeted that? McDonald's?
That's
The
worth
CEO
boycotting.
of McDonald's, said that these kids text the mayor of Chicago and said that the parents failed these kids. You have a message for him?
Please give him a message.
I honestly, I feel like that comment is very distasteful. It's very insensitive to all the parents that have lost their child to gun violence. All it takes is for you to have one conversation with me and his father, and then you would actually know that we come from a very educated background, that we are well raised, and we raised our son in a correct way. So there would be no reason for us to have our child in an environment that we thought was unsafe. I wouldn't be there. His father wouldn't have us there. We definitely would not bring our child to any situation where we thought that he would lose his life. It's just an insensitive comment. It's a very ignorant comment. And I think before you pass judgment, the first thing you should do is figure out how you can actually help the situation instead of being a part of the problem and painting that type of narrative against our family.
Yes.
It's very defensive, and I'm not okay with that. I didn't see the tweet, but I will definitely research that tonight and see, if we can have a better conversation about it. Because right now I just feel like that's ignorant.
Yeah, that's really sad. And then for kids to love McDonald's, and parents take their kids there to support the business. And for the CEO that makes $900,000 in just the base salary, plus he's got another salary plus $20 million in stock and bonds, and then he want to talk about families that support McDonald's, and while he's paying them minimum wage, you know.
That's all.
That is correct. And like as we said, that is distasteful. I feel like what he said, that's a derogatory statement. Until he know us, he shouldn't even speak about us.
That's
He
right.
shouldn't. And to be frankly honest, MJ did not even like McDonald's anyway. Like, he was trying to get him back. He's like, no.
Good for him.
About my son, MJ had like the best diet. I remember one short little story about his diet, Mr. McDonald. MJ ate fruits and vegetables. Like, I would try to give him like chicken nuggets and like hamburgers. MJ wouldn't eat it, but he would eat fruits. He would eat my salads. MJ would literally pick the meatballs out of the spaghetti or like push the chicken to the side. It got to a point I was like, MJ, eat your meat. And I would notice that he would just only eat the sides and his vegetables. I was like, well, why am I trying to force my child to eat meat? If he doesn't want to eat meat, I'm not going to continue to give him meat. So that's another thing. So he definitely had a great diet. He drank his water, barely even drank juice. So he didn't even like McDonald's anyway.
Well, we definitely need to make sure that we all join forces, because when you have someone to blame parents for the deaths of their children, it's really insensitive, it's ignorant, it's racist, you name it. You know, so
You know,
I don't
people.
understand how can he make that comment? Both his parents were college educated. Both of us attended college. His mother went to University of Alabama. His father went to Alabama A&M University. We was a household building. Like, we don't have any rap sheets. Our history is clean. And we was raising our son to be the best individual he could be. And by you making this outrageous comment and not even reaching out to us just to see how we're doing as parents, you can't
Exactly.
even walk in my shoes.
Exactly. And you know, and people want to call people like Dave Chappelle to a meeting.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
how about
the McDonald's dude should come
Yeah.
to Chicago and have a meeting with Angela and Mr. Moultry.
yeah.
I think we should try to set that up.
Well, you know, he needs to definitely do some
Comment
apologies.
about us, get to know us.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Has the city of Chicago offered you all any mental health support for the family and the community where this happened?
They have programs that they suggested to us that they have that's free. It's basically we're on a mental goal right now. Eventually, we know we're both going to have to get counseling, both going to have to see a therapist eventually. But right now, we're just mainly focused on making sure that MJ gets justice.
Yeah, you know, Malika and
I do just want to say, guys, I definitely don't want to come across as if we don't need, mental health and those resources. They are available to us. We are reminded every single day of the grief programs and the mental health resources that is available. And it is there. There is this dark hole every day that we wake up that's in the background that wants to summon us and that wants to call us and say, hey, come on over here. But we fight that every single day. There will be a time for us to grieve our son, but right now we can't grieve our son until we get justice for him. It actually feels unnatural for me to say how much I missed him and how much I loved him if I'm not out here fighting every single day for him. So it may be a different type of grief that people aren't used to seeing. I don't understand it myself. I've never lost a child before in this manner, but this is what I need to do for myself. I know that I can't give up, because once I give up and I take my foot off the gas, then I feel like that dark hole will get a lot bigger. So I definitely try to steer away from that until I'm ready to take that on. But right now I have bigger fish to fry, and that's finding out the people who murdered our son.
Yeah, taking action often is part of the healing process. Taking action.
Yeah.
For sure. I agree completely.
Well, once again, this has been a great show, and we
Yes,
look
I
forward
agree.
to continuing to work with you and your family to catch the killer. So if anyone has any information about the killing of MJ, once again, that phone number that they could call is
1-800-535-STOP.
all right. Thank you both for being great parents
Yes,
and
thank
continuing
you
to
so
fight
much.
and carrying out the legacy. Have a good evening.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having us, and y'all have a blessed night.
Thank you
too.
so much for having us.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
You
Have a
too.
good day.
MJ's legacy will live on.
It will. This is CAN TV, and we have had a show dedicated to MJ. MJ was the 4-year-old kid killed in Chicago, and we just had the parents on, and they pleaded for your help, our help, to find the killer.
Yes, and stay tuned for more on the legislation. As we said, his legacy is going to live on. It will be to protect other babies out there who are dying senselessly in Chicago.
Yep. All right. I want to thank CAN TV and all the viewers for allowing us to have this opportunity to shine a light on baby MJ.
Yes.
See you next week.
Chicago Heal.